and I am joined today by Djordy Seelmann. And Djordy is the CEO of Housing Anywhere. He's a tech entrepreneur passionate about real estate, building impactful ventures. And at Housing Anywhere, he's creating the world's largest platform for rental accommodation together with his international team of talented individuals and seasoned veterans. This is what my card says, so it must be true.
It's true.
Before we start, I want to ask an off-the-record question, which is when we did our prep session on Zoom, you had the most adorable dog that was licking your arm, and I would like to know that dog's name.
Eddie.
Eddie, okay.
Yeah,
and this is your dog?
It's our dog, yeah.
Okay. Housing Anywhere mascot, perhaps?
Also, one of many. We have more dogs in the office.
Nice.
And they like to play.
Very fun.
And keep everybody cheerful, of course.
Good for serotonin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. So I think you had perhaps the most sensational title that we've had for a fireside chat, which is about doing 5 acquisitions in 2 years, which is incredible. So I just want to kick things off. Tell us a little bit about that, and can you tell us what you learned in this super crazy period?
Yeah, so, we do, at Housing Anywhere, we're really organically growing really nicely. But one of the hurdles that we run into is that we are in a Red Sea. We're a rental accommodation marketplace, meaning that we connect rent-to-demand with vacant properties that you can rent. And probably anybody can think of a website or an app that they have been using to do that in the past. So it's a Red Sea, and you have to kind of go in there and fight. So that's one thing. So how do you fight? Well, we build an amazing product that gives us a lot of organic growth. But that's not really what I want to talk about. It's more about, okay, well, then why do you do the inorganic growth? And for us, it's about really unlocking demand and supply so that we can get more liquidity going on our marketplace and grow quicker, because that's been the hurdle in this Red Sea. So when we went out there and they said, okay, we now have a nice business model, it works. If we throw more, let's say, liquidity at it, we can feed the machine and grow the company. So we needed more liquidity. And in that journey of talking to many companies in Europe, talking to many founders, entrepreneurs, one of the things that we've really learned is that every company is very different, that you are in the same space, that you're more or less doing the same things. It's very different. So every time it's, again, very much a deep dive. What exactly is this company? What do they do? What makes them special? What is special about the team, about the founders, about the managers that are there? What is the true value of this company? And every time that's a new, let's say, adventure or exploration. And I think one thing that's very important when you do M&A, you need to be genuinely interested in the industry to do that time after time again. Otherwise, you just think, it's just merry-go-round, just many different stories that are more or less the same. No, there's kind of subtle differences that, for us, really matter. So it's important to find those subtle differences. So you need to be passionate about the industry. And I think with the team that we've done these acquisitions with, we are quite passionate about it. So that's really an important element. The other one is that 5 in 2 years, 5 sounds like, wow, okay, nice. But that also means that a lot didn't happen. So for the 5 that did happen, there's probably 20 that didn't happen. So you spend a lot more time on what didn't happen than in the end what you spend on what did happen.
Yeah.
So you have to set up yourself for that expectation.
I mean, I am familiar with when venture capitalists might do due diligence or negotiate a term sheet. That can take 6 months on one company. So how are you staffing the massive effort of looking at all of these companies and finding? Like, was this a really large team working on these acquisitions?
It's usually really just a handful of people. But when we go into a due diligence phase, we really involve people in the company that are experts in their fields. So they know best how to look at a company and how to look at marketing, how to look at supply, how to look at product, how to look at engineering. So we go through the whole, let's say, shebang of the company, but we only do that in a later stage. So of these, let's say, 25 opportunities that we looked at, only these 5 really went through that stage. And we were fortunate enough that we have been able, that as soon as we had the letter of intent signed, that we have been able to carry it out every time. So perhaps in that sense, we were lucky till now.
Okay. And you mentioned some of the things that were really important, like a good fit with the team. How do you think analyzing a company for acquisition differs from maybe a VC analyzing a company for investment? Are there differences in what you guys are looking for as compared to what an investor looking at that same startup or scale-up might be looking at?
Well, I think for us, the question is not, can we sell this?
Right.
You know, that's not the question. The question is, are we going to be able to grow the company with the help of this team or with this company or whatever asset that might be there in it? So we're looking at it from a far more organic perspective, and also how can you integrate it? Can you integrate it? That's a question that a VC would never ask unless they're doing a buy and build scheme. So I think we look more at intrinsic value and what kind of risk do we see to keep that in or to really make it materialize.
Yeah, great. So backstage, we were chatting about Elon Musk, the great polarizer of our century. But one thing you mentioned was the ability to be bold as an entrepreneur or a company. And how are you thinking about your time of being bold and the path of the future of the company, and how that might change in the future, and how your acquisitions fit into that?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to being bold, there's two things. We like to do many things at once. So we're not scaling back in terms of ambitions because we run into some roadblocks. So we keep on going with acquisitions. And the acquisitions go bigger and bigger because otherwise they're not really moving the needle much for us anymore. And the other item, I think, for us is that we do it because we really want to keep on growing that marketplace. We have to be bold because we are a marketplace and we are an aggregator of that demand and supply in this rental market. And as it goes with aggregators is that you cannot be number 4 or 5, 6 in the market. You have to be number 1 or 2. You can see it in food delivery, for example, transportation. You have to be number 1 or 2. So if you do not have that ambition, either set yourself up for selling your company or set yourself up for a very long stretch of growth.
And I think that's something that's so interesting you say that. And after this, we're having Bas van Abel from Fairphone talk to us. And he was saying the same thing of like, there's some industries, there's some companies, you have to be number 1 or you're not anything. And in these forums, I don't feel like it gets talked enough about choices entrepreneurs make. Maybe it's not on the top of their mind when they're starting the business. They just see an interesting flaw that they want to fix in a system. Yeah. And it's a very different path of you have to be number 1, which is probably an IPO path, potentially. Doesn't have to be, but can be. Or you can be a comfortable mid-market player. You can be an acquisition target. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs if they're thinking about that spectrum?
The lifestyles are very different. Yeah. So as an entrepreneur, you really need to think, why am I doing this? Am I very ambitious? Do I want to be, on top of those markets, or am I fine with a more lifestyle business? Am I a lifestyle entrepreneur? And I think these are the two, the two outer ends. So where are you is very important. That if you're in the lead of a company, to think about, well, where am I, and what does that mean for the path of this business? Yeah. And in the end, also for your customers, how you're going to help them best. Perhaps you are a better company, a better product if you're part of a bigger whole that actually goes for that number 1 position than that you are there independent in a corner of the market. Right.
And for some entrepreneurs who might be sitting here thinking, my dream is for Djordy to come knock on my door and say he wants to buy my startup or scale up or company, what advice would you give an entrepreneur who wants to build a healthy acquisition?
Yeah, so let's not make this specific for our industry because perhaps competitors are listening. I don't know. But more in general, I think what is very important is that you start to think, okay, if I want to be a target, if I want to be acquired, what are people looking at? And I think that the smarter companies out there, they pierce through this veil. If you just try to, cook the books and make the numbers look nice, that's not really going to help. You have to build something that is a strong company in the foundation, is a good product, is a good service, and you need to run healthy financials that when you add them to another company, they're an add-on, another burden. And then also, it might be that whoever acquires you has a different idea where he or she wants to take things than you. But yeah, if you go away or if you sell the business, you have to go with that biggest story. So you have to find some sort of compromise. And this might be compromising on your own vision. But of course, you can also always pitch in and see if you can steer the bigger vision of the company into a direction that you think is going to be better for your customers, for your users. So I would say to any of them, be open-minded, be proactive, and for your own company that you are building, make sure it is a very, very solid one with strong financials.
Solid proposition, solid financials.
Yes.
Solid team.
Solid team also.
Yeah, great.